I always love discovering new unlabeled reels of film like this one. There's no way of telling what could be on it. We loaded up the film in the projector and watched as it flickered to life. The film depicted an artist visiting Windsor in the late 1960s or very early 1970s. But none of us had any idea who the visiting artist was. Film Club member Scotty Hughes was able to identify a man in the film, not the featured artist, but another man who kept popping up in the film's various scenes. It was a well-known Windsor artist, the late Bert Weir. Scotty shared screen grabs of the film with Mr. Weir's daughter, and she was able to identify the visiting artist as Michael Hayden. I did a Google search and quickly discovered that artist Michael Hayden was a well-known light artist who was very active on the Montreal, Toronto, and London art scenes in the 60s, 70s, and beyond. Hayden had rubbed shoulders with the likes of Marshall McLuhan, Timothy Leary, Buckminster Fuller, and other well-known artists and thinkers of the day. Hayden had an art career that spanned decades, and his colorful neon and various light art pieces can still be found in galleries all over the world. I was able to locate a phone number, so I gave him a call. Mr. Hayden was still very much alive and well and living in Santa Rosa, California. I told him that I would link the transferred 16mm film to him in California so he could view the film reel that had not been seen by anyone for over 50 years. Once he viewed the film, I would call him back and we could have a conversation about his recollections and memories of that time. Can you hear me okay?
You sound like you're in another room.
Crystal clear? I have to ask, these old films that I sent you, what was it like seeing them for the first time and maybe forever? What was it like getting these?
I'd never seen them. I have no idea who shot them. I mean, obviously I was aware of it being done because I would have had to have already arrived in my Citroën, and then we would say, why don't we have me come down the street and park the car? That Citroen was the only one I ever bought that was brand new. It was called a D Special. I bought it for $4,800. This car now is probably worth $250,000.
Wow. And so with that knowledge of that car and that time period, what year do you think that this film was shot?
1965, 1966. Somewhere in there, because that's when I owned that car. At the time, we were living in Mount Bridges near London because I was the sculptor in residence at Fanshawe College. The pieces that are in that exhibition, which is at the Windsor Art Gallery, there's a close-up of the sign as you walk up some stairs to go into the... Now, is there not a Windsor Art Gallery?
Well, that was Willistead Manor. That was the art gallery until, I'd say, 1975, and then they moved it downtown, and then they've since moved it again. But yes, at that time, that would have been the Windsor Art Gallery.
Yeah, I lived in London, so we weren't that far away.
In the rest of that film, it's you walking upstairs and then giving a lecture. Do you have any idea what you were talking about that night?
I have every idea of what I was talking about. They were doing those annual exhibitions of international artists in Germany. The exhibition then was all within the Woolworth Reichardt Museum in Cologne. The piece I did was called Self-Portrait Homage to Colonel Sanders. There was a postcard, a poster, stamps, all of me doing that arm trick that I showed in the film. And it was something my sister had shown me that it's like who can curl their tongue into a celery shape. Being able to do that arm trick that I showed you, and then I turned around and showed that my hands were still together.
This film reel was unlabeled when we found it, but one of our film club members, Scotty Hughes, was able to identify one of the gentlemen in the film with you. He's now deceased, Bert Weir. He was a local well-known Windsor artist and a teacher, and it was through one of his daughters that she suggested that that's Michael Hayden, the artist. So that's how I tracked you down online and was able to connect with you and send you these old films.
Well, it's amazing seeing my hair at the time that it was that full and that dark. I still have a full head of hair, but it turned gray, and now it's turned white. This is the danger of growing older.
Another question about the third film, starting off with all the neon, and I know that you worked in light.
There's a piece that I did for the Yorkdale Station in Toronto, a 600-foot-long piece that was chosen for the cover of the 10th International Sculptors Conference that was held in Toronto. with a big title. I'm looking at the poster across the room. It says Sculpture in Canada. You know, if you've been through Chicago, you see the piece Sky's the Limit, and it's 800 feet long, and it has over a mile of neon in it. So I kind of did the last comment that can be said, that piece has been installed, running 24/7 for 35 years, and it's still up and running.
It looks like it's a gallery show in that third film, and you're there talking to people, and there's children there, and they're walking over another installation in their bare feet. Can you tell me about that one?
That piece is on my front porch. That piece was made for the Canadian Institute for the Blind. I made a sculpture that you had to feel with your feet. That piece I called Meadow. The guy that I saw twice in the film, so the second two mostly showed my assistant, Bill Meadows. Bill was the one that first flung himself into the foam piece called Flood. And then the second to throw himself into is a guy named Ron Gregory, who was one of my students.
That art show with the neon at the beginning and then the children walking on the
Meadow.
On Meadow, was that filmed in Windsor or was that filmed in London, or do you remember?
I don't remember. Those sculptures were shown all across Canada.
Okay.
I mean, they were in Toronto, they were in Winnipeg, in Vancouver. I had one of the best dealers on the continent, Walter Moose. You know, I got thrown out of the Ontario College of Art because of putting light bulbs in my paintings in 1963. You know, now there's light art being made in every city on earth. You know, there's steep competition from young bucks that are being educated in art colleges on how to make light art. It keeps old farts like me awake at night, having to think of new things to do. So.
The one film that I sent you, there's an art installation. You guys are outside of the Windsor Market at the time. When we were watching this in my garage at the film club, the idea of somebody doing something like this nowadays seems so far-fetched that you would never get away with that, or no one would ever have the idea to set something up like this and people would gather around and just play. You know? Yeah. But that's what happened.
You could see that. The police officer, he'll get wondering what the hell's going on. And I immediately, you know, I went over and explained to him that I was an artist, and these were pieces of my work that normally would be inside an art gallery. But I said that my art was meant for not just card-carrying members of museums, but for everyone, and that they can be enjoyed by anyone. And you could see the people just getting off to other people.
That art installation outside of the market, what was that made of? I'm calling it like the French fry, the ones that people were picking up and braiding and playing in.
That's Flood.
Flood. And what was that made of?
Polyurethane foam, expanded polyurethane foam. You know, I had the wherewithal of having no lacking of nerve.
From that same film, there's a woman wearing a cape walking on it. Do you remember who that woman is in the cape?
I have no idea.
Okay, so she was just somebody who happened to be there that day.
I don't know. She might have been the director of the art gallery.
Okay.
You know, I've been making sculptures for over 60 years.
before the footage outside of the Windsor City Market, you guys were inside the market. I haven't shared that film with you yet. Do you remember that part where you guys set up shop inside the market first?
Everywhere I went, I did things like that.
Yeah, it seems like it was a great time to be alive.
You know, it was an amazing time to be alive. I mean, it was... I'm so glad that you persevered. I'm so happy that you've allowed me to bend your ear. You know, most people would have hung up by now.
No. I could keep going on, but I don't want to take too much of your time. But maybe I could call you back one day, you know? Maybe we can do this again. We can set something
Whenever,
up.
just change the topic so I don't tell you stories I've already told.
No, this has been wonderful. I'm so happy I came across that film, and then we ended up connecting like this and getting to talk like this because it's fascinating. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I want to add that the next step in this process is getting the original film reel professionally scanned. A pleasant surprise here is that the film has an audio track embedded in it. That was Bert Weir holding the microphone the entire time. For more videos like this one, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Michael Evans, Windsor, Ontario. And if you have any old film reels, let me know. We'd love to have a look at them.